Hey guys, what is up? It is your boy T for 365 Horror Vlog, and this is a horror movie discovery channel. I am just here to put as many horror movies on your watch list as possible. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at every single movie I watched in November 2023, and we're going to get into it right now. Now, we are going to get into the video, but before we do, I've got to remind you guys to please like and subscribe if you like this content. Also, this video is best watched with a movie tracker. I like to use Letterboxd. I just find it's the easiest way to keep track of the movies that you've seen and want to see. And with that, let's get right into every movie I watched in November 2023. The first movie I watched was a 2023 horror sci-fi thriller by the name of No One Will Save You. And I gave this movie a 6 out of 10. No One Will Save You has the markings of a great horror movie. Where it somewhat is held back is in its avant-garde story. It makes the movie feel scattered at times. What this movie does right, though, is the aliens. Everything from their interactions to their movements to the sounds they make, the aliens are a great source of creeps and scares. Even though they're CGI, you can tell the movie had great production because they are incredibly well done and fit into the scenes seamlessly. Again, due to its weirdness in story and ending, it is hard to really suggest this movie to anyone. The next movie I watched was a 2023 drama horror thriller by the name of Birth Rebirth. And I gave this movie a final score of 6.5 out of 10. Birth Rebirth is a good dark macabre reanimation tale. It's raw and doesn't pull punches on the subject matter. This movie doesn't really have many creeps or scares, but it does have a decently engaging story that culminates into a visceral portrayal of the lengths that grief and desperation can push a person. As someone who's had someone very close to them pass away, I actually kind of related minorly to this movie. Of course, movies take everything to the extreme, but just that wanting that person back so bad that you're willing to do like weird things, it just resonated with me, and I thought that was a good movie. Next movie we're going to look at is a 2023 drama horror thriller by the name of It Lives Inside. And I gave this movie a final score of 6 out of 10. It Lives Inside is a decent movie. It definitely has moments where it builds some tension and creepy imagery, but it lets off the gas often and never ramps up to anything truly terrifying. While they do cram in some social elements, I feel like they supported the story and they were warranted, albeit a tad heavy-handed at times. It also suffers in the third act with a very cliche climax. The next movie I watched was another 2023 drama horror thriller, and that is a film by the name of Maloom, and I gave this film a 6.5 out of 10. Maloom is a decent to good horror movie that has a quick start and a good payoff. Unfortunately, sandwiched between that, you get subpar acting and mediocre creeps and scares. Although it improves drastically by becoming more twisted in the end, the latter really does hold this movie back from being a 7 or higher. The next movie I watched was another 2023 horror mystery, and that is a film by the name of There Is Something Wrong with the Children, and I gave this movie a 7 out of 10. There's Something Wrong with the Children is a good movie with decent jump scares and tension. The story drew me in with a good mysterious plot. That and good creepy kids make this movie a worthwhile watch. The next movie I watched was another 2023 horror mystery by the name of Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor, and I gave this movie a final score of 7 out of 10. Hell House LLC is a good movie with decent scares. It's probably the strongest entry into the franchise besides the first one. It holds great tension, which is effectively portrayed through the new age found footage style, full of still shots and music, which are good additions to the evolution of the genre. I'm just going to take a couple seconds to cover what I mean by new found footage style. And that is a found footage movie with lots of still shots and steady cams. They might even have the additions of music in there. Just little things that make a found footage movie, to me, a little bit more interesting. I know that it takes away from the reality. It just tends to up the quality of the cinematography of a film. I just find them more watchable and a little bit more interesting. The next movie I watched was another 2023. This one was a straight horror named Deliver Us. And the final score I gave this movie was a 6 out of 10. Deliver Us is a good movie that suffers from being a bit of a slow burn. It has a good intriguing start that builds a good sense of dread that follows throughout the entire movie. As we ramp up to the third act, you most def get some good gore out of this one. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty good movie. The next movie I watched was another 2023 action fantasy horror, and that is a film by the name of In My Mother's Skin. And the final score that I gave this one was a 6.5 out of 10. In My Mother's Skin is a good dark tale. It starts gory from jump, and although it has intense moments, I wouldn't exactly call this movie gore porn. A little light on the creeps and scares, you can tell that this is a story-focused narrative. The characters are played well, and that includes the children, which is always refreshing. Its intriguing dark story does a good job of drawing you in and builds a decent amount of dread throughout the entirety of this heartbreaking film. Next, we have another 2023 film, which is a horror mystery thriller, and that is a film by the name of Saw X. And I gave Saw X a final score of 7 out of 10. Saw X is a good movie. I enjoyed the standalone story where I didn't feel like I needed a Saw degree just to follow the shit. It most definitely has good gore and came through with some disgusting traps that pretty much started right away. I really enjoyed the plot and story of this movie and its usual Saw twists and turns. Next, I watched a 2022 film, but I'm pretty much going to call this one a 2023 film, and it is a horror sci-fi thriller by the name of The Outwaters. And unfortunately, I can only give this movie a 3 out of 10. The Outwaters sadly suffers from a lot of the traditional found footage problems, from its slow start to a confusing, blacked-out conclusion. As a lover of weird, avant-garde movies, amongst my favorite are movies like When Evil Lurks, Midsommar, Hereditary, this movie just wasn't for me. After establishing its mediocre characters, this movie basically goes on to bore you for 2 hours. The climax is really bloody, but even then you spend most of your time in the dark hearing what you'd rather be seeing. The next I watched was a 2023 comedy thriller horror, and that is a movie by the name of Cocaine Bear. And I did give Cocaine Bear a 6.5 out of 10. I thought Cocaine Bear was a fun movie. It's everything I like in a horror comedy. It was raunchy with a good sense of humor and tons of gore. The bear CGI was so-so, and unless you're in the mood for not serious fun romp, then Cocaine Bear might not hit you how you want. I enjoyed it though, and I thought that this movie is definitely worth a watch. Don't throw this on Friday night at midnight when you want to be scared. Next movie I watched was a 2012 action adventure horror by the name of Aftershock, and I gave this movie a 6.5 out of 10. Aftershock is a pretty good disaster horror movie. The acting is competent and it has some decent humor in it. You also get a little taste of Eli Roth's acting in this movie, which is interesting. It is a bit of a slow start, but once shit hits the fan, you get great disaster injuries and a bunch of pretty brutal gore. Plus, a dark ending makes this movie a solid 6.5. Next movie I watched was a 2023 horror thriller, and that is a film by the name of Candyland. And the final score I gave this movie was a 6 out of 10. Candyland is a raw and visceral look at sex work and street life. Although light on the creeps and scares, it does make up for it with tense and uncomfortable situations. Now, I will warn you that this movie is stuffed full of sexual acts, references, and innuendos. Please don't unsubscribe. So it could be an uncomfortable watch depending on the company. Just like a little side note story here, back in the day, I used to always watch movies with my parents, and when I was young, they let me watch any media I wanted. I was allowed to watch as many swears, anything. I could listen to any kind of music, anything. They didn't really cut off media from me. So what it really in turn ended up was me being, 11, 12 years old, watching Eddie Murphy Delirious like it was nothing. But one of the things that I always remember was, and this movie kind of brings up feelings of it, was the uncomfortable feeling when like raw sex or like sexual situations would come up in like movies when I was watching them with my parents. My dad was always famous for it. We'd be watching something and like raw sex scenes would come on. And in the middle of it, he would always turn and be like, T, cover your eyes. And then I would always have this uncomfortable situation of being like, what? Is there sex on the screen? I don't watch this. I hate these parts. I don't even pay attention. These are the parts that ruin movies. Like, I didn't know what to say. And he would always laugh. He always got a great kick out of it. So yeah, this movie is full of that stuff. So don't throw this on with someone who might be embarrassed with that kind of material. Back to the review though, the characters were played well, and Alec Baldwin plays a great slimy sheriff in this one. The gore is decent with some okay kills, nothing off screen, but nothing too disgusting. It does get a little bit ridiculous in the end, just the way things happen. It gets a little eye-rolly at the end, but all in all, this is a decent movie if you're in the mood for something raw. This movie also has some uncomfortable situations, so it makes it a great does the dog die candidate. The last movie I watched in November was a 2023 action horror thriller, and that is a film by the name of The Wrath of Becky. And I did give this film a final score of 6.5 out of 10. The Wrath of Becky is a good funny horror with good kills and a generous amount of gore. It's a pretty straightforward revenge tale, so you're not getting anything groundbreaking here. Also, aside from Becky, who's just raw dog and kicks major ass, even the villains in this movie are fairly run-of-the-mill. The movie could have had some more tension, but all in all, I found it a light, enjoyable watch. Well, guys, that's going to do it for every single movie I watched in November 2023. I hope you enjoyed it and found some great movies for your watch list. If you are wondering, like, what movies would I kind of point out that you should watch immediately, I'm going to start out with a movie like Saw X. I thought that was a really good movie. Hell House LLC Origins, really good, creepy movie that you have to check out. And the last movie I'm going to say is There's Something Wrong with the Children. I just found that to be kind of a creepy movie. It had some good scares. The kids were creepy. Just what was happening, you were wondering like what was going on a lot. It hit on a lot of good notes. So those are going to be a couple of movies that I wanted to spotlight on. But as you could see from the scores, there's plenty of good movies for you to choose from if you haven't seen them all. With that, I am going to get out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.